Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer. I'm totally aligned with my mission in this incarnation, which I hope to be my last. I will not be returning to this planet. It is really complicated. It really is complicated. This has not been fun. Um, I'm not sure who I need to petition to, but I'm not coming back. We are in interesting times. Things appear to have taken a positive upswing. Certainly, it feels very positive having to do with the elections if you are supporting Donald Trump, being it that I am a mind control victim and I'm a sex trafficking victim. Very obviously, I am supporting Donald Trump. Being it that I love business, but also spirituality and being on mission and helping people, I love Elon Musk. And I like RFK because he says that we're going to be allowed to find and deliver to the public the cures for things like cancer. You see, now, if you find a cure to cancer, you need to hide the information or you need to leave the country because your head's going to get cut off. Too many people are making too much money. So obviously, I'm going to be in deep trouble if Trump doesn't win, but I think I've been in worse places before, so I'm willing to take that risk. I wanted to talk today about this time that we're in. We have Halloween, then we have All Saints Day, and then we have the Day of the Dead, which are two different days. And when I ask my Hispanic friends, I am half Hispanic, but I wasn't really raised Hispanic, so and there's a little bit of a confusion. The first and the second are either the Day of the Dead or All Saints Day. And then on the 31st, you have Halloween. So this is a time in which we're supposed to be dealing with the issue of the reality of spirits and where they are in our lives. And I have probably said this before, but I was invited several years ago to a television show, the morning show in Telemundo, and it was for All Saints Day. And the person that was being interviewed before me was from Mexico. And I was in awe at how comfortable she was with the issue of spirits. And she was explaining how they celebrate it. And one of the things that they do is that they prepare a banquet. And it's mainly of things made out of sugar. Now, the banquet is not for the people, and I don't know if they eventually eat it. I don't know, but I should find out one day. But basically, they know that spirits like sugar. And if you go to like a Thai restaurant, an Oriental type restaurant, where you go to pay or where you come in, they usually have a bowl and they have candies. And those candies are for the spirits. So the Buddhists use the word pacify. And I guess we could apply it to that. You give them the sugar to pacify the spirits. Well, in this country, we have it so backward that we give the sugar to our children and they eat a lot of it. And the trick with sugar is that sugar opens up a portal that we have actually at the bottom of our body and between our legs, underneath the root chakra. That's the portal to the underworld, which is where we have seven different energy centers separate from the chakras that we have on top of our body, at the upper, on our associated with the trunk of our body and our head. So when you open that portal, you're making it very easy for the spirits to come in. I need to get from the dolphins more information on that because I have to assume that the sugar does more than just that. But it is enough to where you can have a kid that's kind of okay and give them sugar and they become very wild. It's a stimulant, but it's beyond a stimulant. It's a stimulant that includes a beckoning and an opening to the spirit world. And the issue with that is that there is ethics in the other dimensions. And ethically, you're not supposed to come into someone's body. If you're a spirit, you're not supposed to come into someone's body or even actually change it from the outside. You could be a guide and in one way or another kind of try to wake the person up, guide them, you know, but you're not supposed to enter. But when you take the sugar, it makes it easier for the spirits to enter. So the only spirits that enter are going to be the spirits that you are not going to want to have enter. And we're giving that to our children. Bags and bags and bags of it, even though most mothers will monitor and ration it out, and you can have a piece today and 2 pieces tomorrow. The day of Halloween, there's no rationing, and you're going to have one piece, one piece. Most kids are going to have many pieces. And so were the adults that are accompanying them. And here we go with the whole issue of ignorance. And it's ignorance of the other dimensions. We don't know that we don't know. And then we make all sorts of decisions. And then we question as to what's going on. And then we go to people who don't know, which includes our religions. It includes our religions. They don't know, but they have their own version of yes, knowing, not knowing, whatever. The Catholic Church does have a classification of spirits, and they are accurate in that the worst spirits are the ones called incubus and succubus. But they don't know about the portal on the left hand of the head, which is where those spirits come in. And they don't have much more information that is distributed to us. And they will talk about the devil, but when you do something bad, in terms of the Catholic Church, you did something bad. Whereas if you have a spirit attachment or a spirit that invades you and actually comes into your system, it is your physical body that does something bad, but it's really the spirit that did it. And that's why these people that murder, they'll say, I didn't do it. It was a spirit that did it. The devil did it. They're accurate. It's a very gray area, I know. And I'm not trying to say that we should let people get away with anything, but at least we should have the information, and we don't. We don't. We're not even looking for it. It is, to me, beyond hilarious when people go to a funeral or somebody dies and they talk about the person's spirit, how they could see it in the funeral home, and how the spirit came and visited the wife at night, and how they could feel the spirit's presence. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be saying those things, absolutely. But what they don't know, which is what's unnerving to me, is that that person whose physical body died has a spirit, yes, that has now been released, but he always had a spirit, and an active spirit. And we don't know what happened to that part of us, which is our spirit. In Star Wars, they say, may the force be with you. What they're saying is that they're hoping that you are aligned with your spirit. And they didn't say, wait until you die and then may the spirit be with you. No, because the spirit really needs to leave at that point. They say, may your spirit be with you. May the force be with you. Your spirit is your astral body. And in Hinduism, it's known that the astral particles, which is what your astral body is made up of, is a force. And I'm wondering if in physics, I don't really know what it is in physics, but I know that they know that there's something that they haven't understood yet, and that would be that force of astral particles, which in terms of you and your assemblage of bodies is your spirit. So thank you, Valeria. She's saying my hair looks nice. Yes, it does. My hands don't look so great because I did my hair myself and I didn't have clothes. So I went ahead anyway, and I figured I could just get it washed off. Well, it's not washing off so well. It's really bad. But the reason I did it myself is because I had an appointment, and I think I said this yesterday, to get my hair done. And the appointment was, I believe, today. But it's too close to the new moon. In Buddhism, you're not supposed to cut your hair or do anything to your head in the new moon, in the full moon. I think it also applies to new moon. I don't know if it applies to the new moon, but just in case, I canceled the appointment. And then I said, well, I'll just do my tinting myself. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I might as well have gone to the hairdresser and wouldn't have to deal with this. But we humans, especially if we're severely disassociated, which, by the way, is the assessment of my mental condition when I went to the psychologists at the University of Miami, 3 of them. And I also worked with Dr. Colin Ross, who was the specialist in the Americas. What does that mean? Having to do with military mind control. He also specializes in cult victims and satanic victims. So you can imagine the field day that was done with this little piece of information I just shared when the mafiosos wanted to get me out of Grove Isle, which was their playground, and they decided to let everybody know that I had worked with Dr. Colin Ross. So I did not have fun in that stage. That was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I have considered going back and actually taking them to court, having to do with, I think, the law called the HIPAA law, which you're not supposed to disclose people's medical records. They did. And of course, when you have something as shocking as somebody who works with satanic cults and mind control victims, you're not looking at the mind control victims, you're thinking the whole Satanism thing. So I could go back and sue them, but I could go back and sue a lot of people, especially now that people are becoming a little bit more sophisticated about the mind. I'm going to go a little further and talk about psychology and psychiatry. Throughout history, it has been accepted that if you have issues that we would call today mental issues, like you're mentally ill, it was spirits, spirit influence. And that got thrown out the window the same way any information or acceptance of the spirit world got thrown out the window, at which time you end up with a whole series of issues with 40% of our children who are considered mentally ill because they're diagnosed as ADD and all sorts of things, autism. That means they're mentally ill according to this country. And then you don't take care of the spirit angle, which throughout history has been known to be what it is that causes those issues. How are we going to take care of our kids? We don't. We don't. And that's why we're in deep trouble. We have disrespected bodies of information um, because they weren't modern and because we have allowed intellectuals, university graduates, to determine what it is that people are allowed to believe in. Several years ago, I got a call from somebody who was a friend of someone who had a child that was in hospice, a 2-year-old that was in hospice, but at home. They sent the child home to die. And she called and said, I don't know if you can do anything. I said, I have no idea. She said, well, can you check? I said, okay. Um, and when I checked, the child, somebody had done black magic on the child when the child was in utero because the person did not want there to be, for that child to be born. And so I removed the black magic immediately upon seeing it, and the child woke up because the child had been in a coma. So I worked with the child for several months, and it was interesting. But I wrote and I documented everything, and I especially documented what the parents said about the changes in the child because it doesn't work if I'm the one who's saying it. It has to be somebody else's observation. And it was really interesting because when I wrote it up, I sent it to, I think it was 3 friends that I have that are medical doctors trained in this country, etc. Not from the islands and not from a backwater, whatever. And I sent it to them, and all 3 of them said to me, you know, I kind of know this is real. All 3 of them. And I've had patients where I've looked at them and I've thought, I think this might be magic. Were they able to help the patients? No. Outside of the paradigm, they could have lost their licenses. And yet they knew instinctively that was because a good doctor is always very intuitive and instinctive. They knew instinctively that the issues that they were dealing with these patients, these particular ones, was black magic. So if somebody does black magic on you to make you die, I hope you're not in this country because you will die. Because you're not going to get any help because the medical profession will not go out of their comfort zone. Their ethics, can you believe that? Their ethics say they can't do anything that is not what they were taught at a university. And this is not true anymore today, but it was said for a long time that for something really innovative in medicine to really reach the general public, it would take 50 years. Now, obviously, that's not the case today. Look what they did with the plague. They did it in 2 seconds flat. So the whole not understanding the other dimensions, which is where the spirits are, the other dimensions where you have a piece of you, is extremely dangerous to you and to your children. It's also dangerous to your bank account and to everything else. And I am hoping that with this new presidency, that there will be an allowing, and I was going to say, to get into this new, this is not new, this is old. This is a disrespect for information such as astrology. And years ago, an insurance company did a study, and it was, I believe, 5 million people. It was a database. And they found out that if you're a Gemini, you have more chances of having an automobile accident. That's pretty important information. In the future, they're going to ask you what your astrological sign is, or they just check your date and they'll know. And your rate of paying for car insurance is going to be different. If you're a Gemini, it's going to be higher because after a study of 5 million people knowing that you're going to have more of a chance of an accident, hey. And they found out also that Libras, which are the ones born in October, were the ones that would be sick the most. So that information integrated into today's society would be extremely helpful. I've told you about when I took care of all those autistic kids, and they were not 10%, they were 10% of the kids were autistic. The root cause was because the parents were in religions or practices that were like black magic, where they would do sacrifices of animals, etc., which is legal in this country. And I also found that if you had an autistic kid that was an earth sign, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, they were much more manageable. And if you had an autistic kid who was a fire sign, which is Aries and Sagittarius and Leo, you want to move to another planet because all that fire in an autistic kid is very difficult to manage. But if you know this in advance, then you know the autistic kid, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. If you know that from day one, you go ahead and you buy yourself a house on the outskirts of the city, and you make sure that your child is in nature all day long because Earth puts out fire. And you do all your vacations not to places like Disney. You do your vacations on the water, where there's water, beach, water. Lots of swimming pool because water puts out fire. And then you will have a more manageable autistic child. So the integration of all of this information that's centuries years old, I'm not the only one who knows this. I'm the one that perhaps can do a bit more of an integration of that type of information with modern society. And we go back to before I was born. Why did I choose to be born to the family I was born into? I had many, many years ago, there was she was actually a psychologist, and she would do regressions to past lives, and she would do meditations. She was good. She's really good. And she did a meditation in which all of us would go back and see ourselves as like a little firefly, very tiny, and we would go back to what the family we were born into, and just to watch. And I participated, and I could see myself outside of the window of an apartment. And my father was there, and his wife, the woman who raised me, but it was not my mother, and my two sisters. And I understood. why I was born into that family. And it was, as I have said before, I wanted to bring the maximum amount of information to the table. And for that, if I had been born in Tibet, which I would have been, I think, a lot more comfortable than living in a big city, etc., I would have had a maximum amount of wisdom and information, but I wouldn't have been able to help a lot of people. And that was explained to me by the Bon master that trained me the year that I was there when I was 10. And he said his masters had given him permission to take me on as a student because I would take what he gave me, the information he imparted to me, and I would bring it to this part of the world, and then I would be able to teach a lot of people. Because in this part of the world, we don't have the daily struggle with survival, having to do with having enough money, having enough food to eat. So I guess it's hard to let wisdom play out in your life if you're struggling to stay alive. So being born over there wouldn't have worked for my intention. As I've said, if what I went through, I only teach 5 million people, then it wasn't worth what I went through. I have to make a bigger difference for it to actually be worth it. Not financially, just be worth it in terms of I feeling like I have accomplished something. But if I had been born just simply here in the West under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have had access to that level of wisdom to be able to impart it. So I had to have that combination. Being born into the military, my father, who was in the military after the Second World War, even though he was Cuban, he came to the United States. He was supposedly put in jail in Ellis Island. He was a bad boy. And I think Ellis Island was at some point must have been used as a jail. That's the story my family has, and it was passed down to me. And then he was recruited into the US military. And then I was born in Europe after the Second World War. So I was born into a situation in which I would have learned the structure and the discipline and the grounded in a society where there was enough to eat so people could actually take wisdom and let it play out and make decisions based on that. So this whole integration of East and West, the integration of what we know about the physical dimension that we have managed so well, truly so well, and then the information about the other dimensions, putting the two together is really phenomenal. And that's the process that we're supposed to be in now. If we can get people who know about those other dimensions already and use that information to control those of us that don't know about it, if we can get them out of the way, and I believe we are going to be able to get them out of the way because of revelations, because everything is coming out. So we're finding out the stuff that they're doing. Our power is not in the physical dimension. It's not in our physical body, and it's not in the physical dimension. So to not know about the stuff in the other dimensions really means that you have a lot less power than you think you do, or that you could have. I have talked a bit. Darn. So let's go ahead and choose a mantra. We're in the elections. So let's go ahead and do an election mantra. We want the election to be fair. I have a, give me a second and I'm going to find the mantra. Give me a second. The elections here, no. That's election integrity for Venezuela. That's not what we're looking for. Okay. The election, I don't know why Libras get sick. All I know is the result of that study, which is of all the astrological sign, the one that gets sick the most is Libra. So give me a second while I figure out, please. God help us. Attention. The election be fair. Okay, here's the mantra. Please God help us with our intention that the election be miraculously fair and the results be miraculously obvious. We can't just have results. They have to be miraculously obvious so that once it's finished, it's finished. And obviously fair. And of course, there's a spelling mistake, but you can't correct here. And I'm not going to go back and do it again. So we'll have to tolerate that. So let's go ahead and do 10 minutes. And remember, the mantra is repeated in silence and you expel the breath through your mouth. Changing the music. Okay, we did 10 minutes. It feels like 5 minutes, doesn't it? I'm going to put the gold dress on. And I glanced at a map of the United States in my head, and there's a black cloud of depression over the country. Ah, having a photograph, a copy of this dress, which you can find easily on the internet, um, on your refrigerator, in your bathroom, someplace, and looking at it throughout the day or every day, you can tell what your frequency is at. When it is more gold and white, your frequency is good. And then when it gets down to the blue and the bronze, your frequency is bad. That means probably something has you really frustrated and angry. And it can change in 5 minutes. Something you can get a difficult piece of information, some news, and you can go into hate mode internally. Um, and that will drop your frequency, and the dress will tell you. So it's a good way of knowing where you're at, because when your frequency is good and you see the gold and the brightness, you can see the gold in your life. You can see the golden opportunities. Not everything is the same. You can see where the gold is at. And when your frequency drops and you don't see that shiny gold and shiny white, basically you don't see the gold, or the gold just simply is not in your life. It's a literal change of the quality, and perhaps just the actuality of your life. And you can change it easily. And usually you can change it by addressing the repressed frustrations and anger. Okay, so we will see you again. Today's Wednesday. We'll see you again on Friday. And I can say that X is having some problems, but that does not surprise me, because nobody wants X to be functional. So I went up and it showed 0 people on X, and I opened another window. So at that point, it should have been 2 more, and there were 0. So it looks like nobody's looking at this on X. Right now it says 1, but I have 2 windows open. So that's 2 plus the other people. And for it to open up took forever. So we can expect a lot of things to happen, because this is an incredibly important election for the entire planet. So thank you for joining me. And try not to eat too much of the candy. I love candy. That was part of the government training program for the kids. Eat a lot of candy and leave us totally susceptible to spirits. Thank you again. Bye.